demonstrated this for you yet. If you are ever absent, make sure that you check Canvas the day that you are gone. On Canvas, when you go to this class, to Literature and Film, it might look like this when you first get there and you see units and you see current week. And you're like, well, what am I supposed to do? If you click on current week, do the drop down, it will show you the day that you were, well, it shows all the days, but you can find the day that you were absent. Like if you were gone yesterday, you could click on that, and everything that we did is described and demonstrated here. So first it said that yesterday we reviewed the screenplay assignment and make your own movie assignment, right? Then you can see the written assignment for both of those. Then after that, we did how to use Celtx. I demonstrated that. Then we watched a place like this, and we did a tally mark for all of the frames, angles, and movements that we learned about. We watched That's Not Ours. We did a tally for those. And then here I posted a recording of the whole class period. So you can go back and watch the whole hour what we did. Apparently it's a little bit hard to hear, especially when other students are commenting. So I'm going to try and remember to remind you, if you make a comment, to speak up, so that people at home are able to hear. So yesterday, we rushed through to the end. I very quickly talked about your, and maybe at first I thought to talk loud and it just got quieter and quieter, but anyway. So that's what you'll do if you're absent. Make sure you do that. It's just immediate. You'll know by 2 o'clock what we did. And you won't have to email me and say, what did I miss? Just check that out. If you have a question about it, you're like, Mr. Rash, I still don't understand that assignment. I don't understand this in Celtx. Then you have a starting foundation. Okay? All right. Now I want to show you some video editing software. How many of you have ever edited a video before? Okay, it's not brand new to a lot of us. What kind of software or platforms do you use for editing, if you have before? iMovie, just on your phone, is that okay? Or if you have a MacBook. Yeah, Jason?
Sony Vegas.
Sony Vegas. That's what I've used.
Oh, really?
Yeah, except they don't make it anymore, do they?
Do they? They don't?
Well, mine has gotten slower and slower, and like keeps shutting down on me just in the middle of a project, which is the most frustrating. It makes me so angry. It'll just shut down. And so I went to look to see if they had an updated version, and the one I had is the latest version from 8 years ago. But I like it. It's easy to work. So, okay, cool. Sony guy. Anybody else have something they use? No, you're all like, you guys are geeking out over this. Yeah.
It's a weird app called Video Star.
Okay, all right. So most of them, though, they're very similar, at least in layout and functionality. Some of them, the more you pay for it, the more you can do. Also, if you just have a Microsoft computer, just a PC, if you've got a PC and you have Microsoft, or Windows, there's a basic video editing software program there. I'm going to show you one that you can get on the internet for free. It's called clipchamp.com. Clipchamp. It's a free account. You just have to sign up with your email address. I'm going to walk you through very basically and kind of quickly how you would go about editing if this is your first time, if you've never done it. So most editing software programs have these 3 spaces. First of all, here we have our media library up in this corner. This is where we would put our video files or audio files, music, photos, anything would go up there. Over here, it's hard to tell because it's all black, but there's a little bit blacker black box here. This is your preview window. So once you push play to watch the video, it's going to show up there. Then down here at the bottom, we have our timeline. So this is where we'll then take our video, files and drop them into here, and we can do our editing, our cutting, and our shifting, and our transitions, and all of that. That happens down there. Okay, so I'm going to put in here just the 2 videos that we watched yesterday that were student created. Okay, go back. So you've got your video done. You recorded everything. You got it to your computer. If you have an iPhone and a MacBook, you can AirDrop it to yourself. That's what I do. If you don't have that, you can email the file to yourself. You can put it into your Google Drive on your phone and then download it on your computer. It's about the only ways I know how to do it. Oh, maybe you can, well, no. Yeah. That's about it. If you have questions about how to get it to your computer, I can help you figure that out. But here we've got Macy's video. I'm going to take it from my files and I'm going to drop it into my media. There we go. I'm going to take Courtney's and drop it in there. Great. And we're ready to go. So I did, let's just hypothetically, I created the movie, I filmed it in 2 takes. This was take 1 and this was take 2. I'm going to take now my first clip and I'm going to drag it from my media folder and drop it into the timeline. Okay, down here, here's some features we've got. We've got the timeline finder. You can drag this along and get to a specific moment. Okay, let's say, oh, I need to delete that. Okay. Okay. You can also zoom in and zoom out on your timeline. So if I zoom all the way out, you can see the whole clip. If I zoom in, it's going to help you to be able to find a very precise moment. So I want it to cut right after she puts her hand down. Okay? So that's where the cut's going to go, where this white line is. Right here, maybe if it'll let me zoom in, it says split. It's got the scissors. If you click that, you can see that my clip has now been turned into 2. We'll pretend I hated that first part of it and I don't even want it, so I push delete. It's gone. Right? And then, I don't know why I was doing that, sorry. Okay, the rest of that take I loved. Now I'm going to take 2 and drop it into the timeline right there. So if I push play and watch, it's going to go from this clip right into that clip. And that's just a hard cut. Maybe I want to add in a transition. I want it to fade across nicely. I feel like that will be nice and Hollywood quality. So over here on the very left, you can see there's something called transition. It's got these many options here for different transitions. You can play around with them and see what you like. I'm going to take, ooh, I think that will be nice, fade through white. I'm going to take it and I'm going to drop it, drop it right between, maybe. There it is. So once the transition's there, you can see this, that little symbol right there. That means there's a transition. So if we watch, oh, beautiful, fade through white. Okay? So then let's say I want to add in some music. Clipchamp has some free music you can use. If you click on, over here on the left, click on stock and choose audio. This first menu, you've got free forever. And all of these have that little purple free, so you know you don't have to pay for it. Some of those other menu options, you have to pay for those effects or those songs. So stick with the free stuff, unless you really get into this and want to invest a lot. let's say, actually, if you just hover over it, you can have a little sample. Oh, I like that one. Have a nice day. I want to add have a nice day into my movie. So I click the plus, and then over here, close. Now you can see in my media menu or folder, it's downloading Have a Nice Day. So give it a second to get that all downloaded. While I'm doing that, I'll show you how to add the text. Remember, part of the assignment with the video is you have to label the angles, shots, frames, and movement and all that. If you click on text, you can see different ways of including text. I'm going to try this one. I take it, click on it, drag it, drop it where I want it. And then I click on up at the top, text, and this is where I type what I want it to say. I want it to say close up. Nope, I want to say extreme close up. It's not really going to be that, but we're good. And then if we watch this, that was hard to see in that moment. Let me go over to here. Extreme close-up. So you'd label all of your required shots there. Let's go back to our media. Right there. And here's that song, Have a Nice Day. Sorry, it's loud. I'll do this. I'll just turn it down. I dragged it in, and this blue line is my music. And I can shift it where I want it. If I want it to start right after a certain moment, a certain word, then the music starts, I can line it up just like that. So let's have a look. Cool. This is a great movie, huh? I should go to Hollywood. I'll send this to Hollywood. This is the newest summer flick for next summer. Now, we're all done. I've edited it. That's the hardest word for me to say. Edited it, and cut it, spliced it. It's all good to go. I'm ready to turn it in. Up here in the top right corner, you see the purple button that says Export. Click on that. The star means you have to pay for it. So we're just going to go with this 480p, which is free. Let's go with the default. Click Continue. And then we see right here, it's exporting it. As soon as it gets to the purple, it will be done, and it will be on your computer. And you can watch the whole thing as it renders it. So, there you go. That is how to make a movie with clipchamp.com. The link will be in Canvas, so if you want to spend some time over the weekend messing around with it, look at the different transitions, look at the way to add text, look at the free music, whatever you want to do, there it is for you. There's a little learning curve, so you probably don't want to wait till Thursday night to try and figure out how to use it. Everything will go wrong on Thursday night, because it always does, and you'll be sorry. You're going to regret it. Anybody know what that's from? American Horror Story, the first one. The little girl outside the house. She says it. It's terrifying. I never finished the first season. It's too scary. Questions about Clipchamp, or the movie assignment, or the screenplay assignment? Anastasia?
So for like when you're telling like what angles of camera you're gonna do, you have to do that for the whole video?
You have to label all 10.
Okay.
Yes, label all 10. If you do like 100 of them, because you have 100 close-ups, just label it once.
Okay.
Yeah, but you have to have at least 10 labels, 10 individual unique labels.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, Claire? Okay, so she asked, if there's no people, how would you do an over the shoulder? You can still do that, because what it is really, it doesn't have to be a shoulder. What it is you're looking at one subject with the other subject closer to the camera. Okay, so it could be we're looking at our dog back here, and the shoulder is actually a chair. Okay, so we see part of the chair is probably fuzzy because we're focused on the dog, but that would work as an over-the-shoulder shot. Okay, that's a really good question. Okay, anything else? Let me know as questions arise, and I hope you enjoy this assignment. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I always enjoy it. Okay, let's watch a video, our last short documentary. This one's called Instant. This is the one that I watched and I thought, I should stop teaching and go into documentary making because it was so inspiring. It's really cool. Here it is. Now I'm not going to make you tally the changes in shots and angles and movement, but notice that too as you are entertained by it.
I'm Lauren, and I'm a photographer. I have a bunch of cameras, but over the years I've come to love one that's pretty simple, a plastic instant film camera. On a trip to Peru, I started using it to capture the places I went and the people I met. With instant film, you take the photo, and a minute later it's developed, and you have something tangible in your hands. Not only is this pretty magical, but I had something to give to the people I was photographing. So I had this idea. I thought that this would be great to do back at home too. I packed up my camera and a ton of film. And I set out. I decided to photograph the people in my hometown of Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. I was nervous. Approaching strangers on the street was not something that would be easy for me. But I was tired of just taking photos. I wanted to see what happened when I focused only on giving them. Excuse me, could I photograph you two for a little documentary I'm doing about instant film? Just kind of getting it down nice and close so your heads are close together. Hey! Hi! Okay, go for it, that's for you! That's for you! What's going on? What do you see? What do you see? Ah, you guys look so good! The hardest part was definitely working up the courage to just stop someone who's walking by. And the first couple days that was really, really difficult, and I really didn't want to do it. By the third day it started to get more comfortable, but it was still scary. It never became not scary to just stop a stranger on the street. Excuse me, could I take a portrait of you guys for a little documentary I'm making? No, that's okay. Have a great day. Some people, when I asked them, they said no. Some said it politely, some, they were really no, kept walking. And that was not easy. It wasn't easy to deal with that rejection right in your face. I don't necessarily blame them for saying no. And at the same time, I feel a little bummed. It's hard to go back and ask again, so. Do you think I could photograph you guys for a little documentary I'm doing? It's about instant film. It's a scary thing to have your photo taken on the street. I don't know if I'd always say yes, and I just had to try again. That was the only thing that I could do after being rejected, even though the next one was scary. Tried again, and people said yes. Way more people said yes than said no. Could I photograph you guys for a little project I'm doing about instant film? No?
You can photograph me.
Okay. So I'm just gonna take an instant film shot of you. Cool, thank you so much. Ready? Excited? Pumped? He's so ready. Snuggling, yeah. Yeah, I like the strong one. As a photographer, I get kind of caught up in the technical aspects of a photo, and that was one really interesting thing about using this camera is that you can't really control the technical aspects. I really was just pointing and shooting and doing pretty much nothing else. And that didn't matter to the people in the photos. They would be so excited when it started developing and they'd say, oh, that's a great shot. And I mean, technically it wasn't amazing, it was good. I was really pleased with how the shots came out, but it wasn't at all about it as a great image. It was about who was in the photo and that memory of being with that person that the photo was recording. What's in that photo that's important to them? And that was something that really changed the way I thought about what makes a photo valuable. Of all of this, my favorite thing, my favorite moment in every interaction was when I got to give them that photo. It wasn't taking the photo, it definitely wasn't asking them for the photo. It was when I got to give them the photo. That felt the best. Okay, you ready?
Yeah.
Here we go. That was it. Well, now we gotta wait. See, look. Gotta wait for it to develop.
Already.
In a couple of minutes.
Wow.
Yeah, pretty cool, eh? Do you have a lot of printed photos at home?
No, I don't, but I want to get back to it.
Yeah.
I'm tired of it just being on my phone.
What's your most favorite photo that means the most to you?
Christmas photo by the tree.
Yeah, everyone
And the kids were there.
Yeah.
And my daughter was there. It's at her house. It was beautiful. And I also have a big collage that
Awesome.
she gave me of all printed, her wedding pictures are in there, the kids' pictures are in there. It's just beautiful. I treasure it so much.
No kidding.
So much.
So that's why I'm kind of just trying to give people these printed photos today.
Oh, I get to keep
You
it?
get to keep this one.
Oh,
That was a good one, hey?
yeah.
It's still coming. People were surprised. It really surprised them that photo they got to keep, and that mattered so much. You could see it in their eyes and in their smiles that they were excited just to have something to hold. And even with our own photos, the ones that we actually print out, they end up mattering so much more than the ones that just sit on the hard drive. Taking to the streets to ask strangers for a photo was tough. One of the toughest things I've done in years. But it turned out to be more meaningful than I could have imagined. I got to meet people and get a peek into their lives, if only for a few minutes. I was surprised over and over again by the kindness of the folks I met. In just a few days, the street went from feeling big and scary to feeling smaller, familiar, welcoming. Photography lets us capture moments, but it also lets us connect with others. By photographing them, by sharing with them, by giving them our time and maybe a photo too. I used to think the final image was what mattered most, but now I think I was wrong. I think it's the experience of taking a portrait that transforms us. That connection it creates. So I'm not going to stop here. I'm going to keep taking instant photos and giving them away. This is really just the beginning.
What did you think? Who would have thought that you could make such an interesting documentary, and one that's like, do you guys feel happy? And like a little bit inspired and motivated to do something good in the world today? Who would have thought just Polaroid instant photos could lead you to feel like that? I love it. That's what I'm talking about. It would be so cool about doing documentaries. Okay. This one off. And we're going to move on and start talking about film structure. It's actually narrative structure. And a lot of the stuff I'm going to tell you today, you've probably heard a lot of times before. So I'm not going to belabor it too much. But I just want to make sure we remember it and we're good to go on that. So the narrative structure, what I'm talking about, what you've seen over and over, is that pyramid, the Freytag's pyramid. That's what is one name for it. I like that name for it because Freitag is Friday in German. And it's the best day of the week. So Freytag's pyramid, though, that's where it goes. Exposition. Actually, I'm going to do it this way because you're all facing that way. Exposition, inciting incident, rising action, climax, falling action, resolution. You know that one, right? Okay, good. Maybe you've also heard of the hero's journey. Have you learned that? Okay, that one, we usually do it in a circle. So we've got at the top, we've got the unusual birth, and then we've got the call to adventure, and we've got the magic helper and weapons, and then we've got the trials, and then the patriarchal reconciliation, and then the return home. And usually we'll talk about like Lord of the Rings with that, or The Hobbit, or Harry Potter. Like the hero's journey is like the story, the pattern that's used over and over in storytelling. Now, don't be confused and don't be overwhelmed to think, how can there be two narrative structures? We've got this, we've got this. It's actually the same thing. If we take that pyramid and stretch it out into a long line, and then we bring the ends around to make it into a circle, it's the same structure, different names at the different points, but it's the same. In film, we talk about the structure as linear, so it's just a straight line. But it's the same thing. If we take the line and squish it until the middle buckles in the middle, we've got the Freytag's pyramid. If we take the lines and bring them around and connect them in a circle, we have the hero's journey. It's all the same. So I'm teaching you now linear narrative structure, but it's not a different thing. It's just looking at it in a different way. So let me quick change to my slides. Back to the begin. Okay. Now, in a traditional narrative, we typically have a hero. Sometimes the hero, most of the time, the hero is the protagonist. Sometimes the hero is the antagonist. Don't be confused, it doesn't really matter for our purposes here. But the hero has something that makes the story interesting. They have an outer want, which is the thing that they think that they need. And then they have an inner need, which is the thing they don't know that they need, but by the end of the story, they've found out that they needed it. And sometimes the inner need overrides the outer want, and they don't want the outer want anymore. For example, Wizard of Oz. At the beginning, Dorothy says that she wants to go someplace over the rainbow where I don't have to worry about this boring farm life, blah, blah, blah. And then it happens. A tornado takes her away and she goes to Oz. And while she's there, she has some trials and meets some new friends. But in the end, she realizes that what she wanted to have, that adventure and craziness and new friends, what she wanted was actually not what she wanted. She had an inner need, which was, she says it at the very end, it's a very famous line, we all know it, so let's say it on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. There's no place like home. Yeah, we knew it. Good work. Okay, so that's her inner need. She didn't even know it till the very end, that she needs home and family. So that's the hero's outer want and their inner need. And these wants and needs drive the story. If they didn't want anything, Why do we care? Why are we listening to you? Why are we watching your story? Okay, let's talk about this idea. It's the save the cat moment, and this is where we learn about the hero. We learn that we can trust the hero in the save the cat moment. It's the idea of like the fireman saving the cat from the tree, right? Or from the burning building, or somebody saving a cat. But it doesn't have to be a cat. The cat is symbolic of anything. But this is the moment where we learn to trust the hero. So I'm going to show you a clip from one of my favorite Disney cartoons, Aladdin. And in this, we're going to see that we can trust Aladdin. Okay? It's not that one, though. We've already learned that we can trust him.
And now, esteemed Effendi, we feast, all right. Here. Go on, take it.
On his way to the palace, I suppose. Another suitor for the princess.
That's my way, you filthy brat. Hey, if I were as rich as you, I could afford some manners. Oh, I'll teach you some manners. Look at that, Apu. It's not every day you see a horse with two rear ends.
You are a worthless street rat. You were born a street rat. You'll die a street rat. And only your fleas will mourn you.
I'm not worthless. And I don't want to
Street
street
rat. Oh, I said the right one. Poor Aladdin, right? But we saw some save the cat moments, 2 of them actually. What was the first one? The first save the cat moment? Toby?
Giving the kids the bread.
Yeah, kids needed bread. So at that moment, we're like, oh, okay, Aladdin, we can trust you. You're a good guy. Even though moments before, he was almost killed by the police authorities for being a criminal, for stealing, right? So he's a bad guy. He's broken the law. But then he gives it to the kids, and you're like, oh, okay, you're a good guy. And then, what's the second save the cat moment? Yeah.
Could it also be when the French dude tells him that he's worthless and then he kind of goes a reason to say, hey, I'm not worthless.
Yeah, very good. Saving the kids with the whip and then sticking up for himself. Hey, actually, Gracie, I had never thought of it like that before, that the save the cat moment was saving himself. Whoa. Nice, thank you. Thanks for that. Okay, so that's the save the cat moment. Now, this is that structure we talked about with the Freytag's pyramid. In film, here are the moments that fit on our linear timeline. So the first is the catalyst. The catalyst is the inciting incident. It's whatever that thing is that happens that makes it so the hero cannot go back to their old life. Something has happened, they have to go forward with their adventure, with their journey. In The Lion King, the inciting incident, or the catalyst, sorry, is when Mufasa dies. Sorry, spoiler alert, if you haven't seen it, you deserve the spoilers. So Mufasa dies. At that moment, Simba runs away. He has to leave. If Mufasa didn't die, we would have no story. There would be nowhere else for this to go. So that inciting incident is what makes the rest of the story happen. Okay, then we go along, and in film, we can imagine a movie in 3 acts, 3 different parts. The first act is up to the catalyst, when the inciting incident happens. Then we break into the second act. And the second act is the hero begins their journey. They enter this new world, and adventure ensues. Yes,
I
Conrad?
never understood the use of acts in movies because, like, a musical or play would have like 2 acts because there's an intermission in between them.
Uh-huh.
A TV show has like 6 acts because there's commercial breaks in between those.
Okay.
But there's not a break in a movie.
That's a good point. There used to be. If you watch older movies, like Gone with the Wind, Monty Python, they have an intermission in the movie. You can go get a drink, go to the bathroom, get your popcorn, whatever. So they used to put that in there, but because people were used to theater, right? That's what you were used to in the middle, you're gonna have an intermission. But then we got like our attention span got shorter and shorter, and we're like, I gotta get out of here, I have things to do. And so now we don't have those. But you can see easily where an intermission would fit. And in a movie, we would have 2 intermissions. Okay? So one intermission, let's think about The Wizard of Oz. It's all been black and white, right? And Dorothy, she wants to run away. And then the cyclone, the tornado takes her away, and she lands in Oz. Great place to have an intermission, right? So that is where the second act would begin. Then during that second act, all of this excitement happens. She meets her friends. She goes to kill the Wicked Witch. And then she's going to go back to Kansas after that. The wizard puts her in the balloon. She goes to save Toto. If you haven't seen it, you're probably like, what the crap is this that you're talking about? The balloon takes off without Dorothy. Great place for another intermission. And then the third act happens, and she goes back to Kansas. Third act is much shorter than that one. Okay, in the second act, though, we have our midpoint. And in film, the midpoint is a false victory, or it's a false defeat. We think that the hero has won, or the hero thinks that he's won. We still know that there's another hour of the movie left. He thinks, this is it, I've arrived at the high point of my life. Again, back to Aladdin, he has become a prince, he has wooed Jasmine, taken her on a magic carpet ride, all is great, right? Life could not get better. And then something happens, that's a false victory, because then Jafar steps in and sends him off to a faraway, snowy place, we don't know where that's at, but far away, and he has to then find his way back, find a way to get back. So that's the midpoint, the false victory or false defeat. Right? Or Dorothy in the balloon. We think she's going back, she's not. Something happened. Then we're into Act 3. And in Act 3, they find their inner strength. We can do it, I can do it, I can get back and achieve my goal. And in Act 3, we have the finale. The finale is the climax. In the climax, there's usually the big showdown. In any Marvel movie, the showdown is going to be an hour of the movie. They just go on, and then you think we're about done, and then it's not. I like the Marvel movies, but that's my big complaint. Is okay, just be done. We don't need an hour of this fight at the end.
Did you not like the whole battle in Endgame?
I mean, yes, but it could have been like 10 minutes shorter, and I would have been fine with it still. Yeah. Okay, so that's the film, the movie structure, narrative structure, and that's what it would look like on that line. We've got Act 1, the catalyst, break into Act 2. Act 2 starts, and in Act 2 we have the midpoint, which is the false victory, false defeat. Then we go into Act 3 with our finale, and it's over. Credits roll. Now that, like I said, can also be squished into our Friday Clouds pyramid or brought around into a hero's journey circle. As I think about this, though, I think this is a very basic storyline, right? And that story has been told over and over and over. And we like it. We like that story. We like Harry Potter. We like Hunger Games. We like the Marvel movies. But basically, in a nutshell, if you took the names of the characters and specifics out, it's the same story. So there are other storylines, other structures that sometimes we forget about, or we don't think that it's acceptable to call it a structure. So I'm going to talk about those because they need to be addressed. Okay, sometimes you have a story where it's told in flashback. So if you were to take, we've got the stories going along, we flash back to there, and then we flash forward, and then to here, and here. We're going all over the place, and we're trying to piece it all together. What's the correct order? And it doesn't seem to fit into this, or this, or this, right? So is it acceptable? It is. And it's kind of entertaining, right? Because we have to think about it. We have to focus a little bit more. Megan?
Is that like the new Little Women movie?
Yeah, exactly, like the new Little Women movie. That's a perfect example. Conrad?
The last 5 years.
Uh-huh, yep. That movie musical, yep, you have to keep up with what's going on. Am I in the present or the past? I don't know. Okay, so there could be that. Maybe we have parallel stories. We've got two characters that seem to have nothing to do with each other, but we see both of their story. How does that work? It's almost like we have two, but I can't make sense of how that fits together. It doesn't have to. For example, last weekend I watched Nerve. Anybody see that movie, Nerve? It gave me so much stress. My hands were so sweaty the whole time because they're up in the like super high heights and dangerous things happening, and I was wiping my hands the whole time. But what happens in that, we've got two main characters. The girl who enters into this online game, right? And people are watching each other do this game, and they're given challenges. And if they accept the challenge and they do it, they complete the challenge, then they get money. They get a reward for it. So she does that. She enters into that because her best friend told her she's boring. So that's why she does it. And as she's going along, she meets this other kid who is also doing the game. It's like Truth or Dare, yeah, but super dangerous, and you get money for it. And there's no truth, it's just dare. So then we meet the male character, and all of a sudden he's part of the story, and we learn that he's had a story going along the whole time too, while hers is going, and so then their stories converge together. Not a typical storyline, not a typical linear story. Or maybe we even have something like the movie Crash. Has anyone seen the movie Crash? If you haven't, that is one that people should watch. Maybe watch an edited version of it. But it's amazing. It's life-changing. Seriously, it changed my life. But what happens is that in it is there are like 10 or 12 different storylines happening. Crazy. We've got Sandra Bullock and her family. They're white, they're rich, and they have, rich white people problems. And then you've got the black couple. He's an attorney. They're also rich, but at one point they get pulled over by the police, and the police hassle them. And we learned, like, even though you're rich and successful and have a respectable job, life's not easy for you. And then there's the Hispanic dad. He's a single dad. He has a daughter that he's trying to raise by himself, and he's working all these odd jobs. And he gets home one afternoon, and there's a drive-by shooting. And he had nothing to do with it, but that happens in his life. And then there's the immigrant father whose store gets broken into. He's tried to, live the American dream and open a store, and it gets broken into, and nobody will help him because he's an immigrant, right? Maybe he's not a real citizen, a legal citizen. So all of these stories are happening, and if we're trying to figure out, okay, where does that fit on the Friday Flags pyramid? It doesn't. It's confusing. But it's so entertaining. And then all of a sudden, all these stories converge because there's a car crash on the freeway, and all of them are somehow related. And we see that, everyone's lives are still connected in this world somehow. So it really, like I said, is a life-changing show because your eyes are opened to all of these stories, kind of like the one we watched yesterday, That's Not Ours. these stories are shown to you, and you go, oh, well, I fit into that one, and that in the movie connected to all of this, so maybe somehow I'm connected to the rest of the world and don't know. Yeah?
Was that like maybe the escape room?
I don't know that one. Sounds terrifying.
It's like a real life escape room, and
Like Saw?
yeah, kind of. And like there's like I think there's like 5 or 4 different people, and they all come into like this escape room that like the guy who runs the escape room, like knew about like their past, and he's like he wants them from. It's like really dangerous, but one girl was from like the war, and she had a room that was designated to her. One girl was in a plane crash, and her room was designated to her. Another guy had hypothermia in his room. And one guy got a car crash, and then the other one had nothing. I don't think anyone had anything, or cancer or something like that. But they all like come together in this one and have to work together. It's really scary.
Yep. It sounds like an interesting storyline. Yeah, all of these stories have come together somehow. So yeah. So that's what I wanted to get across to you is that structure, film structure, doesn't have to be linear, even though we typically talk about it as linear, it doesn't have to be. We can see something creative that makes us go, oh, this is very entertaining and unique and new, and it's still considered good and quality and acceptable. Okay, so now, yes, we can start this movie. This is a science fiction short. There's I don't know if it's a company or just a website or something that's called Dust, and you can submit your own, what do you call it, indie films that are sci-fi to this website, and they'll put them on there. So this one I'm going to show you is called Home, and it is this was not made by like a Hollywood director. You even could make something just like this. But as you watch it, number one, be entertained. Number two, try and figure out the structure of this. Does it fit nicely into a Freytag's pyramid or not? Well, nope. There it is. Actually, we only have like 2 minutes still.
Yeah.
We'll watch 2 minutes.
What's that for?
Protection. In case they come back.
What was it for?
Bears, I think. Like giant dogs.
Those are the ones that barked, right?
Yeah.
You ever seen a bear?
No. They would have died out before the dogs did.
I hope Dad comes back soon.
He will.
It's been a long time. How do you know we'll last like this until he gets back?
I just do. Just try and get some sleep, okay? Then said Jesus, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. And they parted It's okay. It's okay. Hungry?
You're not gonna cook it first? Are your parents home?
Dad left 10 days ago to get help after the attack started. Where are you from?
Bethel, out near the crater. A couple days ago, I picked up a radio transmission.
You got a radio?
It broke, but